embarrassed to mention, how many women have you slept with in your life?
That's a good question. I never really counted. What do you think, T?
A lot.
A lot? How about a lot?
Lemmy says about 1,000.
Lemmy says about
He
1,000?
himself has had 1,000.
Oh, it's more than 1,000. That's for damn sure. Hell yeah. Let's just say a lot.
I, Ronald Reagan, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
Music's a definition of where the world's at that moment. It's like a snapshot of our society.
In the first term of Reagan's administration, America was a place where you could be very successful.
Everybody said, it's too much, it's so big. Well, those are the things that made it successful.
The vibe of metal is larger than life. Big power chords. And I think Republican governments have this big attitude.
Excess is definitely a huge part of heavy metal.
We wanted more people, more girls, more dope, more booze, more money, more fun, more.
If there was kind of a phrase, I think, to sum up the whole 80s thing, would be anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
La historia del metal. Episodio 3. Miradas que matan. A través de su historia, el heavy metal siempre ha estado enfrentado con buena parte de la sociedad. Pero algo muy extraño sucedió a principios de los 80. Una cortina de fuego de grandes sonidos y pelos largos parecen encajar perfectamente con esta nueva década de excesos. Por primera vez, el metal estaba de moda. E igual que la Reaganomía, la revolución empezó en California.
When you read encyclopedias for rock history, you're going to see the 64 British invasion has its chapter. You know, the Memphis 50s, Elvis has its chapter. 82, 83 LA will have its own chapter.
In those days, on the Strip, you could literally see a Wasp, Striper, Saxon.
Of people hanging out on the Sunset Strip, passing out flyers, trying to get you to go see their show.
Somebody would be at the Troubadour, somebody would be at the Whiskey, somebody would be at the Roxy. People would be and drinking and puking everywhere.
It was kind of like a gigantic frat party in your senior year that was going on every night. It was blatant hedonism. I mean, it's everything you ever heard and 10 times more.
Sex just happened all the time. In the club, at home.
Church.
Back of a car, on the floor, up against the wall.
Not inside the church, but right in the back of the church.
In the parking lot, in the alley.
And looking up going, this is bad. This is bad.
I mean, on the way to a party, we'd stop the elevator and have a and then go to the party.
There were many a fine young lady that was willing to, how should I put this, to relieve you underneath the table while you were having pizza.
What's really amazing about the entire hairband scene is that these groups managed to sustain themselves, survive, put on pretty big stage shows in clubs, and none of them had any money.
It would come down to either buying beer or buying food. You think, well, you know what, if I buy food, I'm just going to be full. If I buy beer, I'll be full and I'll be buzzed. So, of course, you bought beer.
I had a closet that was 3 by 12, and I was there for a year and a half. No heat, no electricity. Living on less than $5 a week. And that's when you find out how bad do you want it.
I remember putting peanut butter on bread with a Social Security card at the Hollywood Bowl Motel. We had nothing.
Frankie Bonelli, living with a girl that was 2 doors down from me, my landlord had a white picket fence. And every day I'd come home and there'd be 2 or 3 slats missing out of that white picket fence. Frankie's out there stealing the fence from my landlord out there, and they're using it for firewood.
was brutal. But it was cool, though, you know? There was always this excitement in the air. I mean, just walking down the streets, walking down Sunset Boulevard, you just knew you were on the edge of something really cool. You know, you didn't know what was going to quite happen, but you knew something big was going to happen.
Para el 83, Quiet Riot fue una de las pocas bandas de Sunset Strip con una oferta importante de disco. Pero después de 2 álbumes y un tercero en producción, aún estaban batallando en la oscuridad hasta que llegó una idea.
I was doing a lot of demos, and a demo of mine got in the hands of a manager who was doing business with a guy who had his own little record company. And I guess he sort of liked what he heard, and he said, let's go in and do another demo with a cover tune, because, you know, cover tunes are always the safest way for record labels to feel that the band has a potential shot at a hit. So it came time to record in the studio. He says, well, let's do the Slade song, the Come On Feel the Noise track.
The song Come On Feel the Noise, that was the producer's idea to do the song, because he felt that Kevin's vocals were like Noddy Holder's vocals. And the logic of it made sense. Slade had a #1 hit with that song everywhere but the U.S. We hated it. We didn't want to do it. Kevin DuBrow was dead set on not doing it.
We didn't like the Slade songs too much. We were never huge fans, and we never even worked the song up, Come On Feel the Noise. We didn't even rehearse it. We didn't learn it.
We thought we had a good plan. Play the song. Play it bad. Forget about the song.
So it came time to record in the studio, and Frankie Banelli came with this arrangement, and I was making faces at him across the room going, you know, trying to make him screw it up.
And I just came up with that real simple little drum beat, and we started playing. I remember Kevin was sitting on the other side of the studio just glaring at me because he knew that it was sounding good.
I said to Frank, I said, well, you played really well on it. What am I supposed to do? What he says, no, I don't want to do this song, you know. And he says, well, just sing it. You can do that. You know how to sing it lousy. Come on, feel the noise. Girls, rock your boys. We'll get wild, wild, wild. I guess it turned out pretty good.
What you have on the record is the first take that we have. That was the first time we had ever played that song. Is what ended up coming out.
The album slowly climbed up the charts, and we then toured with Loverboy. Loverboy, extremely mainstream, extremely commercial. We opened ourselves up to a whole new audience of people that wouldn't necessarily have listened to or bought a Quiet Riot record in 1983, and we won those people over.
Cargado de canciones rítmicas, el LP Mental Health de Quiet Riot continuó subiendo audazmente en las listas del pop. Entonces, el 26 de noviembre de 1983, hizo algo que ningún disco de metal había hecho antes.
When I count to 3, I want you guys to scream so loud that your throats are gonna bleed. 1, 2, 3!
Mental Health se convirtió en el álbum #1 en los Estados Unidos.
You want metal? You got it! Mental Health!
It really is incredible because Michael Jackson and U2 and all these guys are on the charts, all these huge mainstream artists. And who the hell is this? Quiet Riot, Mental Health. And all of a sudden, this thing is the #1 album in the country. It really broke that last barrier for metal.
You know, I didn't really think of it in those terms. I was just wanted to get on tour. I wanted to be on a tour bus. I wanted to play rock and roll with my friends. You know, I was living my dream. It was more of a surprise to me than anything else when it started to climb the charts. I go, here we go.
We made record labels realize that there was money to be earned from heavy metal. So I think we opened up the doors to record labels saying, you know, let's go out and sign just about every other band out on the strip.
Heavy, la historia del metal.
We were the first band that was doing something that was against the grain of the time.
I think there's that rebellious part of us that wanted to really stand out and shock the out of people. We got away with murder.
That is a show.
Heavy, la historia del metal. Heavy, la historia del metal. éxito sin precedentes de Quiet Riot de Los Ángeles en 1983 puso de cabeza al negocio de la música. Heavy metal, la música para los proscriptos, se colocaba hasta arriba en las listas del pop, y las compañías disqueras en ambas costas se apresuraron para sacar provecho.
As record companies started seeing gold in them Thar hills, you know, and started trying to figure out how to cookie cutter a new metal movement, hair metal was defined and born.
We were an accident looking for a place to happen. The world was ready, and the industry was ready.
We thought about what we were getting into. We knew there was going to be a lot of everything, and that's what we wanted.
It just catapulted. We went from moving the pool table at the Pine Grove Inn to playing Texas Stadium with Aerosmith.
Hair metal in the 80s, it's a combination of popular music and heavy metal. It's really image-based, like, you know, it's all about your haircut and having a cute bass player and facial makeup and videos with hot chicks.
In that period of time, you had this new thing called MTV. All of a sudden, all those videos had to be bigger than life.
Luckily, there are all these bands in Los Angeles who have based their whole music career on having a grid-shocking visual image.
Quiet Riot was the first metal band who had like a #1 record, but Motley Crue was different. They pretty much became the first really important band from LA during the 80s.
LA is like decadent, you know? And they were the band that came out of LA that was decadent, man. They were just, you could tell, they just dripped with sleaze and sex and blood and fire.
I think there's that rebellious part of us that wanted to really stand out and shock the out of people. We were like the weirdest dudes on the planet walking down Sunset Boulevard in stiletto heels, makeup, crazy hair, tattooed, drunk.
Clearly, we did not give a we did not care about consequences. We were the first band that was doing something that was against the grain of the time.
First time I saw Motley Crue. Musically, it was abysmal. You couldn't understand a word that they were singing. I don't even know if they were playing, but they were blowing up. they were lighting each other on fire. When I went backstage and talked to him for 5 minutes, it was like, you know, I'm Doc McGee, and he goes, yeah, great, dude. So here, give me a beer. Anybody got any drugs? They were just like this gang that got to go around L.A. and torture people with all their antics.
We thought we were invincible, you know? I mean, we'd be walking down the street and look over at an unmanned cop car, and Nikki would just go over and grab something and just smash a bottle through the windshield of the cop car and start pissing in it. And I'd often look around going like, I can't believe we're getting away with it. Like, we got away with murder.
Look at the stuff we get on stage. You can put little censor bars across it. This chick's out in the audience, man. If it wasn't for you, I'd never take it off.
I always said that the worst thing that could ever happen to Motley Crue would be if somebody caught us drinking a glass of milk. It could be like a career shattering. Anything else is okay, you know? Drug busts and car crashes and fights, that's okay.
Como Led Zeppelin 15 años antes, el libertinaje de Motley Crue fuera del escenario ocasionó grandes habladurías. El público se congregaba en sus conciertos para atestiguar el espectáculo y Crue se entregaba cada noche.
There's different kinds of success. There's chart success and album sales success. We didn't really think like that. We hadn't been jaded yet. We thought success was how many more amps could we get on stage? How much bigger could we make our pyro? That was what we wanted. We would go see other bands and go, we can top that.
You know, explosions, volume, the biggest PA system on the planet, the biggest light show in the world. Like, that's always been metal's calling. It's like bigger, better, faster, harder, louder. And I'm proud to say I'm a big part of that.
That is a show.
Más grande, más rápido, más fuerte no solo fue la tarjeta de presentación de Crew, fue también el himno de actuaciones del metal de la vieja escuela como Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, que tocaban para auditorios atestados por todo el país y agasajando a los fanáticos con espectaculares presentaciones.
We wanted to give more to the audience. Our aim was to give everyone what used to be called the Disneyland e-ticket. So when you bought your ticket there, you not only got the ride, you got all the accoutrements of the ride. You got all of it. 20-foot dragon that, that roars and moves, a full laser show. I mean, anything you could think of.
Did Geezer tell you about the one we had, the Stonehenge? Oh, man, that's probably the most over the top we've ever had.
The management that we had at the time had this great idea to have Stonehenge recreated on stage with the sun rising behind Stonehenge while we were playing.
Months later, the set turns up. This Stonehenge, which is, quite honestly, it's bigger than the real Stonehenge. It was massive. And we're looking up at this thing going, bloody hell. What are we going to do with this? Where's it going to fit?
What happened, the dimensions that the management company had given were in feet, and the manager, by the time he did it in meters, so it was like 3 times bigger than what And then Spinal Tap came out, who just happened to have the tiny Stonehenge.
The little children of Stonehenge, beneath the haunted moon.
En el 84, los visionarios de los cómics Christopher Guest, Harry Shearer y Michael McKeon crearon el documental ficticio Este es Spinal Tap. El filme es sumamente exitoso, dirigido por Robert Reiner, quien ayudó a unir la presa recién encontrada del metal con la cultura pop mientras daba unas bien merecidas punzadas.
Spinal Tap was a mockumentary because it's making a mockery of some of the stupidity and stereotypes of heavy metal bands.
It was so funny, it hurt. It struck, nerves, and that's good comedy does that.
There's so many one-liners in that movie that are brilliant.
It's such a fine line between stupid and clever.
The Black Album cover.
How much more black could this be? And the answer is none.
I think everybody has had a Spinal Tap moment.
First door you sign, authorized personnel only. Yeah. Open that door. That's the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rock and roll.
My Spinal Tap moment with along the lines getting lost on the way to the stage. In the Midwest, there's a lot of venues that have a coliseum on one side and a theater on the other side. So the band went out on the stage. I hear the roar of the crowd, and I go running out onto the stage to an empty hall. There's no equipment. There's no people, and you cannot imagine what's going on in my mind. My mind is blown, and I'm clean and sober. I'm standing out there in the big costume, and I'm going to hear music, and my roadie comes running out and grabs me and drags me to the other side. Hello, Chicago.
Hello, Cleveland. Hello, Cleveland.
You must have made a long time.
As cool as heavy metal is, it's also quite silly sometimes, and that just personifies that thought.
It was pretty accurate as to how bloated the whole genre had become.
But it's very special because the numbers all go to 11.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Heavy, la historia del metal.
I was the most recognizable face in heavy metal rock and roll then. I was the poster boy. And they were not ready for Dee Snider.
Mr. Snider, what is the name of your fan club?
The fan club is called the Sick Friends of Twisted Sister.
Heavy, la historia del metal. Heavy, la historia del metal.
Heavy metal does have a message for the rest of society, and that is, you.
God bless America.
These are Reagan times. Real conservative wave going on there.
We have an obligation to see to it that the country retains some sense of moral sanity.
When I was a kid, everything that was expected of you was like you go to school, you graduate, you get a job, and you have some kids, and you die. That's not very much fun. You know what sounds a little better to me? I want to rock and roll all night and party every day.
A través de su historia, el heavy metal ha batallado con fuerzas conservadoras en una intensa lucha de culturas. Cuando el heavy metal empuja, el brazo fuerte de la institución devuelve el empujón. A mediados de los 80, con la revolución Reagan en su apogeo, los rockeros sobresalían con las nacientes estrellas del movimiento glam metal, como Twisted Sister de Nueva York.
When conservatives are in control, when there's a tightening on our rights, the rebelliousness of heavy metal, the anger that it allows you to express, people really warm to that. And we're not going to take a video as a chance to further express the frustration of growing up and being yelled at by my dad and disciplined by my dad, and the outlet heavy music provided. And they watched that video and they were like, yeah, I want to rock, man. This band's speaking for me.
El himno Twisted Sister se volvió el grito de guerra para los adolescentes de todas partes. Cuando otras bandas como Venom y Wasp presionaron un poco más con material sugerente, los conservadores tomaron nota.
The Parents Music Resource Center was formed to provide more information for parents and consumers of rock music.
Censorship implies restricting access or suppressing content. This proposal does neither.
The PMRC was an absolutely politically motivated organization put together by a couple of senators' wives who had too much time on their hands. Yes, that's right. You had too much time on your hands.
Consider, for example, the themes found in heavy metal, which is probably the most disturbing element in contemporary music. Much of it dwells on themes that glorify rape, sadomasochism, and suicide.
En el 85, la PMRC fue a la ofensiva y presentó 15 canciones con contenido inconveniente de las así llamadas 15 sucias. 9 canciones eran de bandas de heavy metal, incluyendo We're Not Gonna Take It de Twisted Sister.
You know, they were indignant over lyrical content of certain rock records. And, heavy metal was rife for their exploitation.
I'm a former rock and roll guitar player, and I've believed for a long time that rock and roll is not incompatible with a sound education. But we have to distinguish between music, which is basically harmless, and music which can be harmful to young people.
Okay.
When grassroots fundamentalist religious groups were getting together, all of rock music was seen as devil music. But, it really came to a head with the PMRC hearings.
Ladies and gentlemen, this hearing is on the subject of the content of some rock music.
The most amazing thing about the PMRC hearings were the visual of Tipper Gore on one side of the room.
We are asking the recording industry to voluntarily assist parents who are concerned by placing a warning label on music products inappropriate for younger children.
And on the other, with his hair fully out and in a cut-off T-shirt, Dee Snider.
But we're talking about a person going with their money to purchase an album, to play in their room, their home, on their own time.
I was the most recognizable face in heavy metal rock and roll then. I was the poster boy. And they figured, this guy's the most identifiable, let's make an example out of him. And one of the things they did not research is that I was clean, I was sober, and I spoke English fluently. And they were not ready for Dee Snider.
Mr. Snider, what is the name of your fan club?
The fan club is called the SMF Friends of Twisted Sister.
And what does SMF stand for when it's spelled out?
It stands for the Sick Friends of Twisted Sister.
Is this also a Christian group?
I don't believe that profanity has anything to do with Christianity. Thank you.
I kicked ass. And at one point where I said that Ms. Gore was a liar and had a dirty mind, because Under the Blade, she said it was about sadomasochism and it was about a throat operation. So I said, I can't help it if Ms. Gore has a dirty mind. And Senator Rockefeller goes, Mr. Snyder, when you were insulting Senator Gore's wife a few moments ago, I said, excuse me, sir.
First of all, I wasn't attacking Senator Gore's wife. I was attacking a member of the PMRC. Secondly, when someone says there's a song about sadomasochism and bondage, or someone says we're not going to take it, is violent lyrical content, which is what it's been rated for. Yes, I'm defensive. Yes, that gets me angry. I'm trying to get adults to see that heavy metal is not totally a bad thing.
It was very political. It was very disgusting. And I'm walking out, and a reporter says, how do you feel? And I said, and the word came out of my mouth was dirty.
El heavy metal y la sociedad conservadora habían concluido lo que llegaría a ser su enfrentamiento más público, aunque de ninguna manera el último en su larga historia juntos.
We are pleased to announce here today that our three organizations have reached a mutually acceptable understanding.
El resultado fue sencillo. Cualquier música juzgada inconveniente ahora llevaría un rótulo de advertencia.
We're simply interested in ways to make choices in the marketplace as parents of younger children. And we love the music.
Y mientras la restricción significó victoria para la institución, el heavy metal fue el gran ganador.
Somebody called up and said we had to put a sticker on our album cover, and I was like, well, what's the sticker saying? And it's like, well, this record contains explicit lyrics. I said, put it on. It's wonderful. I love them. People will buy the album.
That little parental discretion sticker almost guaranteed you that your record was going to be purchased by disgruntled kids.
In some sick way, the PMRC is the best thing that happened to metal because it literally drew much more attention. It made all of us go this, and it made it even hipper and cooler.
It's safe to say that if society wants to battle heavy metal will always find a way to win because heavy metal's always underestimated. The people who love it are underestimated. The musicians are underestimated. A lot of people have found that out the hard way.
It's just a rock and roll, yeah. Heavy, la historia del metal.
Every metal band would release the power ballad. Every glam band had it.
It was almost like you had to put out a power ballad on your album in order for it to do well.
What's metal about that?
Heavy, la historia del metal. Heavy, la historia del metal.
The day I could afford a Marshall amp, I brought it into my apartment on the Upper West Side, and I opened the windows, and I turned it up to 10, and spent about an hour blasting away. And I heard the door knock. I thought it was the cops, and it was a woman covered in sweat. She said, "Do you have any idea how loud that is?" And I went, "No." She says, "I'm working on my PhD, and I can't concentrate." And I said, "What apartment are you in?" She says, "What apartment? I'm on 87th and Columbus Avenue. That's 4 blocks away from my house." And I said, "You heard me on 87th and Columbus?" And then I slammed the door in her face, and she called the police.
Well, I think it's true to say that the heaviness in all heavy metal groups generally comes from what the guitars are doing.
When you hit a power chord through a stack, that sound makes you do things you wouldn't normally do. As soon as you plug it in, it's like you're just plugging into the devil itself.
La guitarra siempre ha sido el arma seleccionada del heavy metal, y guitarristas como Tony Iommi, Randy Rhoads y Eddie Van Halen se volvieron leyendas. Pero en el 85, habiendo sobrevivido la embestida de la PMRC, el metal enfrentó otra crisis. Esta autoinfligida y definitivamente más amenazante. El teclado.
When Van Halen's Jump featured keyboards, it was a bit of a surprise because here Eddie Van Halen is known as one of the best guitarists in the world, and then they get the #1 on the riff that he did on the keyboard.
Cuando Jump de Van Halen encabezó las listas, reavivó un argumento igual de viejo que el mismo metal. ¿Los teclados pertenecen a la música dura? En el 85, Motley Crue avivó la llama, no solo usando un piano, sino alentando el movimiento y creando lo que muchos creen es la primera balada con fuerza.
I actually remember even writing this song. We were sitting in the studio and Tommy just started going ding, 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 ding. And I'm just kind of humming along. It was just a cool ballad. And then Nicky goes home and comes back with these lyrics.
You know I'm a dreamer, but my heart's of gold. I had a runaway high.
I don't know where it came from, but a guy like me, sit down at the piano and write a beautiful song wouldn't be so strange. You can rock all you want, as loud as you want, as hard as you want, but there's got to be an emotional side to an artist, where he actually plays the piano or has something else to say that's not, you can't be that guy all the time or you'd be fake.
It was the ultimate get your lighters out song. It became a big hit, and it was another very accessible song, and I think that probably 1 million or so people bought Motley Crue's album because of Home Sweet Home, and were quite shocked that the other stuff wasn't all Home Sweet Home.
Home Sweet Home se volvió el éxito más grande de Motley Crue hasta la fecha, y las ventas del álbum Theater of Pain superaron los 4 millones. La industria discográfica se peleaba por capitalizar el lado suave del metal.
And that became the cliche. Every metal band would release the power ballad. Every glam band had it. Give me a glam band, I'll tell you their second single is always a power ballad.
And it was definitely a formula that, people, even in this room, had, use for. Basically, it was you put out a record, the first song's a heavy one. Second one's a ballad. And it worked pretty much every time with every band.
Bands were selling 3 million. Very few bands ever made it to the 4 million. But if you had that big hit, that would send you into the 4 million. And that was usually the ballad. It was almost like you had to put out a power ballad on your album in order for it to do well.
Record companies, they do that all the time. If one's good, 100's better. And you went ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And you had the W bands, the White Lions, the White Snakes, the Wingers, the Warrants. And it got so processed and so refined that it became pablum. Idiots. And then it got even worse because then it was, hey, I got an idea. Let's unplug. Thanks, Tesla. What's metal about that? So now all the metal bands are playing acoustic songs. Extreme. Mr. Big. Just to be the next to be with you. You. And then it became this whole unspoken thing on MTV, like, if you can't unplug, you're not really a musician. You know what? Come see Tracy Chapman or Paul Simon plug into 2 Marshall stacks and ride the lightning.
A medida que más y más actuaciones anotaban un éxito comercial con baladas de fuerza, se intensificó la presión de las marcas. La fórmula era sencilla. Las bandas de metal estaban vendiendo mucho y se estaban vendiendo.
I hate that song. I had no intention of writing that song. The record was done. The record was called Uncle Tom's Cabin. And Donnie and I called up and said, I don't hear the single. You got to give me a single like Love in an Elevator. I need something like that. So That night I wrote Cherry Pie, sent it to him. He lived with it over the weekend, and all of a sudden the album's called Cherry Pie, the record's called Cherry Pie, I'm doing cherry pie eating contests, the single's Cherry Pie, right? If I'm lying, I'm dying. And my legacy's cherry pie. Everything about me is cherry pie. I'm a cherry pie guy. I could shoot myself in the head for writing that song.
Heavy, la historia del metal.
I think the decline of Western civilization really opened people's eyes up to metal. After seeing the movie, I was kind of like, man, there are a lot of creeps in Los Angeles, aren't there?
Do you wish, Chris?
When you saw the Chris Holmes part, and he's just guzzling it in the pool, and I saw that, and what was funny, all of a sudden became very sad.
Heavy, la historia del metal.
My theory on everything in life has always been, you know, if you throw a ball up in the air, it's gonna come down. And I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I mean, I knew that at some point it was going to happen. The difference was that I didn't expect for it to happen quite as fast as it did.
The Dow plunged 23%, wiping out $500 billion.
We're looking at a depression.
When your mom and dad says everything's good in moderation, it's true. You know, you too much, it falls off. Too much dope, you OD. You know, I mean, where do you go? Payback's a bitch.
We did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages.
There are perhaps as many as 300,000 people who have already been exposed to the AIDS virus.
A medida que los 80 llegaban a su fin, el optimismo norteamericano se desvanecía. Lo que se consideraba apropiado unos años antes, ahora parecía ingenuo e irresponsable. Aunque el hair metal y su imagen festiva aún vendía, las señales de su muerte estaban por todas partes. La prueba más condenable la proporcionó el film del 88 de la directora Penelope Spheeris, El declive de la civilización occidental, parte 2, Los años del metal.
We are not role models for your life.
El intenso documental mostró lo que había degenerado la escena glamorosa de Los Ángeles.
One night I was driving down Sunset Boulevard, and I noticed that no one could even move because the boulevard was so crowded with all these people with giant hairdos. And so I said, I think it's time to make another movie, so I started Decline Part 2. I know that all the girls in the audience are going to want to know this.
16 inches. Okay.
No! No!
Combination all four piece.
With all of the guys, I said to them, how would you like to be interviewed, right? And, you know, Ozzy said, oh, I don't give a just get me in my bathrobe. Okay, fine.
I have a disease called alcoholism and drug dependency.
Gene Simmons said, I don't want to do anything tacky. How about a lingerie store?
Aye, aye, aye.
And then, of course, Chris Holmes in the swimming pool. He said he didn't care where he was going to be interviewed as long as he could be drinking vodka. And I said, the only thing is I really want to have your mom there, Sandy, because I had met her. And so he agreed.
Do you think that maybe this kind of rock and roll lifestyle is hard on you and maybe that's why you drink?
Well, I'm a full-blown alcoholic. And why I drink is because, look, what?
What? Well, why do you drink, Chris?
Because it makes me happy.
After I shot that, I thought I didn't get anything. I thought, oh, what are we going to do? We got nothing. He was just goofing off, didn't get anything. And then when we started looking at it, we were like, oh, my God. It was heavy stuff.
You think you might be covering up some pain?
Yeah. Okay.
What would that be from, I wonder?
Oh, here. Do you like this label? Sure.
Let's not avoid the issue. What would that be from?
Okay, here. Watch.
Do you wish, Chris?
When you saw the Chris Holmes part, he's just guzzling it in the pool. I saw that, and what was funny, all of a sudden became very sad.
I think the Decline of Western Civilization Part 2 really opened people's eyes up to metal. After seeing the movie, I was kind of like, man, there are a lot of creeps in Los Angeles, aren't there?
The new generation of kids don't want to be associated with something that lame, that's pathetic. It's like, I don't want to be like that. When everything becomes the stereotype, and the stereotype is absolutely pathetic, then it's time to move on.
El punto de vista del declive sobre la escena de Sunset Strip sin duda fue cuerdo. El movimiento glam que había traído el metal al mundo se había vuelto una víctima del capitalismo y de sí mismo. La fiesta había terminado.
The glam scene needed to be in a coffin. Everybody was copying each other. It never grew, and everybody was just trying to get their hair bigger and more makeup on at one time and do their really ridiculous poses.
Times have changed, and times are strange.
It was kind of like taking Van Halen and turning it up 100 times, but in all the wrong directions.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get lipstick on you there.
You know, anything that's overexposed gets old, okay? When I Remember You was on the TV every 10 seconds, I was sick of me.
When these bands soften their sound, it did them in, because you turn your back on that initial audience that supported you, and if they're gone, that's when you're screwed. And that happened to a lot of bands.
It had to die. And I was glad it died, even though, you know, my career was over, because it had been watered down and destroyed.